Good evening and thank you for joining us. Infrastructure projects were the focus of last night's Thunder Bay City Council meeting, including a major revitalization project for the downtown North Core. Council voted to award the $13.2 million contract to overhaul key stretches of Red River Road and Court Street over the next 2 years. Vasilios Bellos was at City Hall last night and joins us live in studio with the details. Vasilios?
Thanks, Riley. Council unanimously decided to award the job to Nadine Contracting, meaning work will begin shortly on Court Street, and construction on Red River could begin later this year, depending on how things progress. Members of the Waterfront District BIA were in attendance to show their support for the project, which they say will have major benefits for the area. It's meant to make the area greener, more walkable, and open up economic opportunities from festivals and other large events. City Council unanimously voted to award a $13.2 million construction contract to Nadine Contracting to revitalize Red River Road and Court Street. After rebates, the city is on the hook for about $12.5 million, but councillors say the long-term benefits are well worth the price.
Large industrial tax base just isn't there. We have major pressures for police, fire, EMS, and investing into the most economically prosperous area for us is going to have big return on investment and probably the best thing that we can do.
Members of the Waterfront District BIA add there's excitement among area business owners. Vice Chair Peter White also believes there are clear tourism benefits.
You have the place pop, it will be etched in their memory, and that will go to the rest of the world. And that will bring more people here. And again, it's an up and up situation that will only benefit the city.
Construction will begin on Court Street this year, with the majority of the Red River work set for 2024. Another infrastructure discussion last night was sparked by Neeben Councillor Greg Johnson, who is hoping for Council's approval to get a report about a recreational trail network for Mountain Road. There currently aren't any sidewalks in the area. Johnson says that's a safety concern and believes a trail system would fall in line with city objectives.
The idea of trails seems to also meet with city's transportation plan and climate change strategies. And I think we've also gained a lot of information from residents about the positive feedback about trails throughout our city. It seems to be one of the grand successes.
At-large Councillor Mark Bentz voted against the idea, arguing that new trail networks for rural areas are not a priority.
We've got the waterfront trail on tap right now. We've got the $2 million Vickers Street pedestrian bridge and all the other trails that we're trying to connect.
Vasilios Bellos, TBT News.
Sent a transit rider to hospital late last night after a man threw a hammer through a bus window in front of City Hall. The rider suffered injuries from the broken glass. Police say it appears to have been an unprovoked attack. This just hours after local transit union leaders asked City Council to consider additional safety measures for drivers and passengers. They're asking for dedicated transit security officers trained in de-escalation and mental health to be stationed at the City Hall terminal. They also want the driver safety shields that were approved by Council a number of years ago to finally be installed. Local union president Frank Caputo says the ongoing violence has eroded the mental health of many of his operators, leading to a lot of missed time on the job.
We have a lot of operators that are off directly because of those reasons, because of incidents that have happened on the transit buses. And unfortunately, a lot of them may not be able to come back to work because of their mental health. So yeah, it's costing the city a lot of money.
Council directed administration to come back with a preliminary report in the summer with possible solutions by October. This past Saturday marked 1 year since the Northern Ontario School of Medicine became the first independent medical school in Canada. The school's goal is to develop doctors who choose to stay in the north, and according to the latest statistics, nearly half of the graduates are doing just that. Mitchell Ringos has the details.
More than 1,000 doctors have completed their medical degree and/or residency at the Northern Ontario School of Medicine since it accepted its first cohort in 2005. Of these, 467 doctors, or 46%, have stayed to practice in the north. That includes 161 doctors practicing here in the Northwest and 50 in rural communities.
We're extremely satisfied. In fact, I think we have one of the highest rates of recruitment and retention in the country for those medical schools that are established at 17 in the country.
Despite the encouraging statistics, Verma cautioned that not all graduates start the residency right away, and some have to do so elsewhere. NOSM currently only has 9 residency positions available of more than 130 in the province, but Verma says that will soon change thanks to a significant expansion.
Now, with the expansion, which is an astounding, unprecedented opportunity for us of the medical school, we're going to be almost doubling the size of the MD program. But we're also looking to open up almost 20 residency programs.
NOSM is still a university in its infancy, and there are still major challenges attracting family medicine practitioners to Northern Ontario.
One of the biggest problems is that we can actually bring people in and educate and train them, but it's actually up to the community, the municipality, the city to then recruit and retain them.
Verma says NOSM is working with a number of municipalities to help address those remaining challenges. Mitchell Ringos, TPT News.
Finland officially joined NATO today, and the country's honorary consul to Northwest Ontario says he's thrilled by the news. Pasi Pinta moved to this region at the age of 13 after growing up in Thunder Bay's sister city of Seinäjoki, Finland. The country's accession into NATO ends its decades-long policy of maintaining military neutrality and formally aligns Finland with the U.S.-led coalition of nations pushing back against Russia's illegal invasion of Ukraine. Pinta says Finns back home and here in Thunder Bay have spent the better part of a year waiting for this move.
Elated. It's part of a long process and a significant milestone for the security of Finland. It's a terrific improvement, not only for Finland, but Western Europe as a whole. Very much excited about this milestone. And I know for a fact that when peace finally comes, that Finland will be a constructive partner and party to restore Europe and do its best and support Ukraine when sort of the peace finally comes, hopefully soon.
And we'll have more on Finland's accession into NATO later on in the news hour. The first provincial heritage plaque commemorating a key moment in the history of trans people in Ontario was unveiled on Friday. It's not located in the gay village of a major urban centre, but here in a small northwestern Ontario town, just outside the Fort Frances Hospital. Lee Noonan has more.
The province's newest historic plaque and the first to celebrate trans history now sits outside the La Vérendrye Hospital in Fort Frances. The plaque commemorates Diana Boileau, the first Canadian to receive gender-affirming surgery, and the Fort Frances doctor who supported her.
While she did encounter some discrimination and prejudice, for sure, she also lived a life where she had support of friends and family. She had support of her doctor, Dr. Chalice, and she was able to transition so long ago. So I think it's very important for people today to see that it is possible to be happy and to transition and live your life. I think it's really important for people to see that their story exists beyond just them and they're not alone.
According to her 1972 memoir, Boileau first came to Dr. Harold Chalice looking for an excuse to avoid gym. Dr. Chalice had moved his young family to Fort Frances from London, England, where he would have been exposed to some of the earliest medical research on surgical transition.
My father crossed over paths with surgeons at the University of London, and that's where obviously he got early insight into the transgender experience.
He had such a wide range of interests, and he was so knowledgeable in so many areas that young people really could engage, and he would be open to any kind of questions.
As co-chair of Borderland Pride, Douglas Judson led the effort to get the plaque installed in Fort Frances. He says it's amazing that in the 50s, a trans woman in Northern Ontario would have met a doctor who supported her transition, something that trans people today still can't count on.
The words that we're putting on this iron plaque in Fort Frances, it's going to be stuck in the ground 200 meters from an international border where the environment is still not very safe or supportive.
Both Bush and Judson hope the plaque will help show that trans people can come from anywhere and that they do belong in the community. Lee Noonan, TBT News.
Much of the railway system in North America is over 100 years old, and approximately 10% of it was built over swamps, including the wetlands here in northwestern Ontario. That has led to more derailments and other safety challenges. But local manufacturers Supercom and TVT Engineering believe they found a solution: the S-drain. Mike Lang explains.
This is the S-drain, a 4-meter-long tube that gets placed under railway tracks built over wetlands, particularly peat soil. It was developed in partnership by Supercom and TBT Engineering.
We were first challenged by one of our railway clients to come up with a methodology so they didn't have to panel out the track and remove all the peat, because that's very costly in terms of delays and construction. So they challenged us to come up with something to help improve the situation with the peat subgrade.
As trains become longer and heavier, the weight passing over wetlands can cause the peat to liquefy. As a result, the ground underneath segments of track can become less stable, leading to maintenance issues, traffic disruption, and even derailments. But the S-drain addresses those concerns by absorbing a large portion of the weight from heavy train cars and lightening the load on the peat.
These things are installed vertically between the railway ties. So they're installed through the peat and they're filled with stone. And basically what they do is they allow some load transfer from the train to bypass the peat into the underlying soils.
Since their first installation project in 2020, a 90% reduction in peat boils has been observed. The product's implementation will allow for rail networks to install the S-drain in stages between standard operations instead of halting them for long periods of time to completely rebuild segments of track. Their installation will also preserve the wetland ecology underneath the tracks, which matches Supercom's values as an Indigenous company.
For me, that's really hits home that it's not just about making money or creating jobs or doing great things for our people, but it's about doing something that is beneficial to our territory and that we can serve a role in continuing to protect it. I'm going to be entirely optimistic here and say that this thing is about to blow up and that we're going to start to see sales like you couldn't imagine before.
Supercom and TBT Engineering plan to continue promoting the S-drain so that it can be implemented along railroads in northwestern Ontario and throughout the rest of the continent. Mike Lang, TBT News.
The Thunder Bay Public Library is holding a food drive at its 4 branches this month in an effort to address a severe food shortage at the RFDA. The Waverley, County Park, Brody, and the Mary J. L. Black locations are accepting non-perishable food items until April 29th, when they'll be packaged up and delivered to the RFDA. The most in-demand items include canned meat or fruit, vegetables, canned soup, mac and cheese, pasta, cereal, and peanut butter. Library Community Development Director Tina Marinez hopes to deliver a truckload of food by the end of the month.
We're encouraging the many visitors that visit us every month, because literally we have thousands of people coming to the library every month. So when you're packing up the returned books, pack up some food as well to donate to RFDA while you're having your library visit.
Donations can also be made directly to the RFDA. Food can be dropped off at its Syndicate Avenue headquarters, and monetary donations can be made online. Well, Mitch, today seems to be the calm before the storm.
Yes, I think that's an understatement because it is on the way. The winter storm warning we've been talking about for the past couple days, right around the corner, making its way to Thunder Bay tonight. Today, a little bit of calm before the storm. The wind was up, a little bit of a precursor for tonight from the east, gusting from 25 to 37 kilometers. It felt cold throughout the day with a low of -10, feeling like -18. And even when it warmed up to around -4, it still felt like -12. So cold temperatures today, especially with that wind. We saw plenty of cloudy skies, not too much sunshine in the area. Now, as we head to the region, snow already over in Fort Frances at -4. There's winter storm warnings affecting pretty much most of the province. So plenty of snow, anywhere from 10 to 25 centimeters heading into Wednesday. Snow already in Fort Frances and the Dryden area. Moving farther northwest, no snow at the moment. Those clouds are picking up with temperatures around -3 and -4, but the snow is on the way, and it's going to make its way farther northeast as well in Armstrong and Greenstone. Clouds at the moment sitting at -5, while as we head farther east to Sault Ste. Marie, They're actually under freezing rain warning, could see 5 millimeters tonight. So no snow expected, but they will eventually get some. Now, as for Thunder Bay, tonight, like we said, snow is on the way. Winter storm warning is in effect. We're expecting around 12 to 20 centimeters just tonight. More on the way Wednesday. Temperature is going to be around -4, feeling like -14. And like we said, for the wind, it's going to get even windier, gusting up to 72 kilometers tonight with that snow. So definitely a lot of blowing snow in the area. I have more updates on the snow and the chart making its way into Ontario. Just have to wait a little bit longer.
Well, thank you so much, Mitch. Well, today, former U.S. President Donald Trump has been arraigned. We'll have all those details for you as your Tuesday News Hour continues.
The evidence will show that he did so to cover up crimes relating to the 2016 election.